Durga Puja is coming up soon and I'm going to share the recipe of Bhoger Payesh. I'm going to share 4 tips by which your payesh will turn out beautifully creamy. Sometimes when payesh cools down, the grains of rice turn hard. Not anymore. Let's get started. We're going to start off by soaking Gobindobhog rice in water for 1 hour at least. This is 20 grams of rice or 1.5 tablespoons for a half a liter of milk. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to share 4 important tips of how to get your payesh perfect. Next, we're going to take 7 split cashew nuts. They don't have to be roasted, you can use raw as well. And 12 to 15 raisins, into which we're going to add some warm water and let that soak until we finish our other steps. Into a pot, we are going to add half a liter of full fat or whole milk because that gives the creamiest payesh. Well, you can also use toned milk and then add milk powder or add cream, but you don't need to do that. Just use full fat milk. Once the milk comes to a rolling boil, we will add the soaked rice along with 1 bay leaf and 2 cardamoms. Make sure to crack the cardamoms a little for more flavor. And our next ingredient is half a teaspoon of ghee. It's half a teaspoon of ghee for half a liter of milk. Alright, that's it. We are going to start to stir and scrape the bottom of the pot so that the milk does not stick and burn. Also, using a spatula, make sure to scrape the sides from time to time so that that wonderful cream gets into the milk and the payesh turns out creamy. The milk has been boiling for about 5 to 7 minutes and the rice already looks about 50% cooked. Because the rice was soaked in water, it cooks fast. About 12 to 15 minutes of boiling, you can see that the milk is starting to get thicker and thicker. Just make sure to scrape the bottom and the sides of the pot, guys, because burnt milk does not smell good. At this point, let us check if the rice is cooked. When I press down on a rice grain, it mashes quite easily, but we are going to cook it for another 3 to 4 minutes so that the rice grain turns absolutely soft. Guys, this is very important because if you don't cook the rice completely, it is going to turn hard when it cools down. Now the rice grain turns soft as soon as I touch it. It is so soft, and this is the perfect point where you're going to reduce the heat and add sugar. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar. You can add more if you like. And we are also adding in the soaked cashew nuts and raisins. As soon as the sugar is added, it is going to melt and make the payesh a little bit thinner, but if you keep stirring for about a minute, it is going to come back to its original dense consistency. But don't make the payesh too dense, guys, because when it cools down, it does become even more dense. If you feel like the payesh has become more dense than you would like, you can fix it. Don't worry, keep watching my tips that I'm going to talk about right now. First tip for creamy payesh is to pre-soak the rice for at least 1 hour in water. If you don't pre-soak the rice, even though the rice grains would seem like it's boiled, once the payesh cools down, the grains are going to get a little hard. Tip number 2 is to use the correct ratio of milk to rice. If you're using 1 liter of milk, don't use more than 40 grams or 3 tablespoons of rice. If you're using more rice, you're going to have rice halwa instead of payesh. And if you're using less rice, you're going to boil the milk forever to get to the right consistency. Tip number 3 is to add the sugar once the rice is completely cooked through. If you add the sugar beforehand, the rice is going to take a lot longer to boil. And the last tip, if your payesh becomes too dense, don't worry, add some hot milk to it and get it back to the consistency that you like. Guys, my mom makes this perfect payesh. I learned from her and now you guys are going to make it too. Happy Durga Puja, everybody!